In the quiet hours of ancient Rome, an emperor sat alone, writing thoughts not for the world, but for himself. His words, raw, honest, and unfiltered, have survived centuries. This is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, a timeless reminder that our struggles, doubts, and inner battles are not new, and that peace is not found in the world outside, but within. Let us begin. Marcus Aurelius lived from the year 121 to 180 CE. He was the Roman emperor for nearly 2 decades, ruling not just with power but with thoughtfulness and restraint. Amid wars, plagues, and political tension, he turned inward, recording these private notes as a guide for himself. Book 1 Summary, Marcus Aurelius Meditations. Book 1 of Meditations is not advice. It's a series of quiet acknowledgments, a list of the people who shaped Marcus Aurelius into who he became. The man who ruled the Roman Empire begins his journal by saying thank you. He thanks his grandfather for teaching him modesty and moral character, his father, though he died young, for leaving behind a memory of humility, seriousness, and a generous spirit, his mother for her simplicity, her generosity, and her discipline in religious matters. From his great-grandfather he learned to avoid the pursuit of public schools and honors, not out of fear, but because they could distract from true learning. Marcus thanks a long list of teachers and mentors, each for something unique. One taught him to live plainly without extravagance, another to endure hardship without complaint. One showed him how to listen before speaking. Another modeled how to work hard yet remain calm and polite. He thanks a teacher who taught him not to chase after fame, and another who showed how to stay true to his values, even in politics. From Rusticus he learned to examine himself, to read with focus, and to avoid showing off. From Maximus he learned cheerfulness in difficulty, resilience in being firm yet kind. From Sextus he learned how to live simply and kindly, how to be a friend, and how to take life seriously without being grim. Near the end of Book 1, Marcus thanks the gods, not for wealth or power, but for the things they prevented. That he was never seduced by fame, that he didn't waste his youth in luxury, that he didn't become cruel or arrogant even as emperor. He even thanks fate for giving him good people to learn from, and a nature that could appreciate those lessons. Book 1 ends not with self-praise, but with humility. The emperor knew, whatever virtues he had, they weren't his alone. They were gifts learned from those around him. And so he begins his meditations with gratitude. Book 2 Summary, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Book 2 begins with Marcus Aurelius reminding himself to expect difficulty. He says, each day you'll meet people who are rude, selfish, ungrateful, or dishonest. But we shouldn't. He reflects that others can only harm you if you let their actions corrupt your soul. If you stay true to reason and virtue, you remain untouched by insult, injustice, or pain. What truly harms us is not what happens outside, but how we choose to react to it. Marcus Aurelius writes that the soul hurts itself when it becomes angry, dishonest, selfish, or anxious. He believes we damage ourselves most when we act against our own nature, by pretending, lying, or chasing empty desires. He encouraged 2 guiding rules. First, always act with reason and justice, never out of fear or impulse. Second, be willing to change your mind, but only when persuaded by truth or wisdom, not because of pressure, pride, or pleasure. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself of how short life is. He compares it to a brief spark, a passing breath. There's no time to waste on fear, drama, or chasing approval. Instead, he says we should live each moment with intention, knowing we could leave life at any time. He reflects on how small and temporary things are: fame, possessions, even our names. Everything fades. The only lasting value comes from living honestly, thinking clearly, and helping others whenever possible. The chapter ends with a call for steadiness. Be like a rock, Marcus says, one that the waves crash against, but never moves. Stay grounded, stay centered. Let the world do what it will, but remain calm within yourself. In Book 3, Marcus Aurelius reflects on living in harmony with nature. He reminds himself that every moment offers a chance to act justly, speak truthfully, and accept what comes. The key, he writes, is not to live forever, but to live well for however long we can. He emphasizes that external things like wealth, status, or opinion don't define our worth. What matters most is our inner character, our ability to choose reason over impulse, calm over chaos, and service over selfishness. Marcus says that many people waste their lives in distraction, dreaming of fame or fearing death. But death, he reminds himself, is simply a natural process, part of the cycle of life. We should not fear it, but prepare for it by living with integrity. He urges himself to simplify. Don't get tangled in what others say or do. Don't chase after things that aren't necessary. Focus on what you control, your thoughts, your choices, your actions. Let everything else pass like the wind. Marcus Aurelius points out how often people are guided by appearance, emotion, or social pressure. But he says the wise man asks only, is this the right thing to do? If the answer is yes, do it. If not, walk away. No drama. No fear. He reminds himself not to fear what others think, because their judgments are fleeting and often uninformed. Instead, he says we should trust our own reason, stay honest, and do what's right, even if no one sees it or applauds it. At the heart of Book 3 is a deep message. You were made for this moment. You are part of the universe, and the universe is orderly, purposeful, and wise. Your role is small but meaningful. Fulfill it with courage and peace. In Book 4, Marcus Aurelius explores how to stay calm in a chaotic world. He says that our minds should be like a fortress, undisturbed by pain, praise, or fear. Peace comes not from avoiding problems, but from learning to master our reactions to them. He reflects on how quickly time passes. Everything is temporary, including fame, wealth, opinions, even our bodies. Life is like a flowing stream, and everything we cling to will soon be carried away. So why waste time on things that don't matter? Marcus reminds himself that people will act selfishly, foolishly, even cruelly, but this isn't surprising. The real question is, will you still choose to be good, patient, and wise in return? Their behavior doesn't excuse your own. He emphasizes that we are part of nature, not separate from it. Just as leaves fall or rivers flow, we too must play our part, without resistance or resentment. Live simply, speak truthfully, and accept what comes with grace. Book 4 closes with clarity. Don't chase legacy or comfort. Be honest. Be just. Do your duty. You could leave life at any moment, so live now as if each act mattered. Because it does. Book 5 begins with Marcus Aurelius urging himself to get out of bed, reminding himself that he was made to do meaningful work, not to sleep like a beast. Comfort may feel good, but purpose is better. Each morning is a chance to begin again with clarity and discipline. He writes that when we struggle to act, it's often because of laziness or fear. But we are rational beings made to contribute. Our actions, no matter how small, are part of a larger order. Every task can be noble if done with care and intention. Marcus reminds himself that it's better to be honest and disliked than dishonest and praised. Reputation is out of our control. What matters is virtue, not applause. Even if no one sees you doing the right thing, you still know you did it. He observes that most conflict comes from pride or ego. When we let go of needing to win or be admired, we become free. Life becomes simpler when we accept what we can't control and focus instead on our thoughts, words, and actions. Book 5 ends with a quiet reminder: we must not waste time. Life is passing quickly, and we are closer to death with each breath, so don't delay. Be present, be useful, and live according to reason. That is the path of peace. In Book 6, Marcus Aurelius reminds himself that inner peace comes from living in harmony with reason and nature. He urges simplicity, honesty, and calm, no matter the noise of the outside world. What troubles us most isn't events, but our judgment of them. He says we must accept what life brings without complaint. Everything happens for a reason, even if we can't see it yet. By trusting the order of nature and doing our duty, we align ourselves with something larger than ourselves, the universe itself. Marcus reflects on anger and injustice. When others act wrongly, it's often due to ignorance, not malice. Responding with patience is not weakness, it's strength. We must choose to be steady, fair, and forgiving, even when others are not. He reminds himself not to fear change. Life is constant movement, and resisting it only leads to suffering. Even death, he says, is part of nature's rhythm, not an end to be feared, but a return to the whole from which we came. Book 6 closes with a reflection on self-respect. Don't waste time seeking approval or chasing distractions. Stay focused. Be upright, kind, and useful. If you act with integrity, you'll have no reason to fear anything, not even the end. Book 7 begins with a reminder to live according to nature and reason. Marcus Aurelius writes that inner freedom comes from accepting what we cannot change and acting rightly, no matter the circumstances. Peace, he says, is found within, not in the opinions or actions of others. He reflects on the shortness of life. So much of what we worry about is temporary and meaningless in the long run. Fame fades, wealth disappears, and even our memories are lost. What endures is the quality of our character and the goodness of our actions. Marcus reminds himself not to be surprised by rude or selfish people. Instead of reacting with anger, he sees them as part of nature, like storms or illness. We may not like them, but we can choose to respond with patience and strength. He writes that true greatness lies in staying calm when provoked and focused when distracted. Don't waste energy proving you're right. Instead, be steady, do your work well, and live as though each moment matters, because it does. Book 7 ends with a quiet acceptance of mortality. Death, he says, is not something to fear. It's just a natural return to the source, like a drop of water returning to the sea. Live now. Be just, be kind, and let the rest unfold as it must. In Book 8, Marcus Aurelius reminds himself to remain centered and unaffected by the noise of the world. People will speak, act, and judge, but none of that can disturb a mind that stays close to reason and virtue. He compares the soul to a citadel, strong, still, and self-contained. He reflects on the idea that everything is fleeting: praise, pain, fame, and failure. The world constantly changes, and so do we. Instead of resisting this truth, he urges acceptance. Let go of control over outcomes. Just focus on doing the right thing in each moment. Marcus advises against being ruled by emotion or ego. If someone wrongs you, respond with calm, not vengeance. If tempted by pleasure or laziness, return to discipline. He says the wise person moves through life like a dancer, balanced, deliberate, and graceful. He reminds himself to avoid complaining. Nature gave you reason, strength, and the ability to act with justice. That's all you need. If something stands in your way, use it as fuel. The obstacle becomes the path, a recurring theme in his Stoic thought. Book 8 closes with a reminder to stay awake to your principles. Don't drift, don't waste time, and don't live as if you have forever. The best revenge is not to be like your enemies, but to stay good, focused, and free. In Book 9, Marcus Aurelius reflects on dealing with others. He reminds himself that we're all connected, part of the same whole. So when people behave badly, we shouldn't respond with anger. Instead, we should act with patience, knowing that ignorance often drives their actions. He writes that if someone insults you or acts unjustly, ask yourself, is it really harmful? Most of the time, it's not. The real damage only happens if you let their behavior disturb your peace. Protect your mind by refusing to take offense. Marcus encouraged honesty and clarity in speech. Don't speak to impress. Speak to help, to build, to share truth. He says the wise person doesn't hide their thoughts or intentions because they have nothing to fear or be ashamed of. He also warns against self-pity. If life is hard, it's not because fate is cruel. It's because challenge is part of growth. Complaining only weakens the soul. Instead, he urges quiet strength, acceptance, and action grounded in virtue. Book 9 ends with a familiar Stoic truth. Everything passes. Time erases pain, memory, and even names. So don't live for recognition. Live to be good here and now. Let each act reflect your highest self, and let the rest go. In Book 10, Marcus Aurelius reminds himself to focus only on what's in his control, his thoughts, his actions, his choices. Everything else, including praise or blame, gain or loss, is external and not worth clinging to. Peace comes when we stop chasing what doesn't matter. He reflects on the nature of the universe. Everything happens according to a larger order, and we're each a small part of it. Instead of fighting what life brings, he urges acceptance. Trust that what happens is part of something wise and whole. Marcus warns against living for appearances. Don't act for applause or hide behind false modesty. Be simple, be direct, and let your character speak louder than your words. Live in a way that needs no explanation or defense. He also reflects on mortality. Death, he says, is not the end, just a natural transition. Like falling asleep or a leaf returning to the soil, it's part of life's rhythm. Fear of death fades when you live fully in the present. Book 10 ends with clarity. Live honestly. Be content with what you have, Stay true to your nature. And remember, a good life doesn't depend on luck, status, or comfort. It depends on how well you use each moment. In Book 11, Marcus Aurelius turns his focus to reason and justice. He reminds himself that as rational beings, we're meant to live by logic and integrity. When emotions rise or distractions tempt us, we must return to calm thinking and deliberate action. He reflects on speaking truthfully. If your words aren't necessary, don't speak them. If they aren't kind or helpful, hold them back. Silence, when chosen wisely, can show strength. And when you do speak, be clear, honest, and never manipulative. Marcus warns against judgment. We often assume the worst about others, but rarely know the full truth. Instead of reacting with anger or envy, respond with understanding. Everyone is carrying something, even those who seem difficult or unkind. He reminds himself not to seek rewards for doing good. Virtue is its own reward. Helping others, acting with justice, and living with discipline is enough, even if no one notices or thanks you. Your conscience is your true witness. Book 11 closes with a grounding reminder. Life is short, and time moves quickly. Don't waste it complaining, fearing, or pretending. Instead, live each day with purpose, clarity, and kindness, and let your actions speak for who you truly are. In Book 12, Marcus Aurelius reflects on the end of life, of time, of desire. He reminds himself that death is neither good nor bad. It's simply natural. Like a leaf falling or a candle going out, it's part of the rhythm we all share. There's no reason to fear it. He emphasizes that the past and future are beyond our grasp. The only time we truly have is now, this moment, this breath. So don't waste it worrying or delaying. Let the present be your focus, and let your actions reflect wisdom and clarity. Marcus encouraged humility. Even the greatest names will be forgotten. Even the strongest empires fade. So don't live for praise. Live for purpose. If you can be honest, just, and calm, you've lived a good life, no matter how long or short. He reminds himself that the soul becomes what it feeds on. If you dwell in envy, fear, or pride, you grow sick inside. But if you cultivate gratitude, patience, and simplicity, you'll find peace. The mind shapes the world it sees. Book 12 and the Meditations end quietly. Marcus says, accept everything, expect nothing, and do what's right, moment by moment. That is enough. You are part of nature. You have reason. Use it well and let go. And that brings us to the end of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. 12 books of reflection, discipline, and quiet strength, written not to impress, but to remind. Remind us to live wisely, act justly, and stay calm in a changing world. Thank you for listening. If this brought you value, consider joining me again for more timeless works from ancient minds. Until then, be well, live simply, and carry peace with you.